Hello, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Press X the podcast. It's the week of August 10th, 2020. Most of the way through the summer at this point, and this is episode 317. We're not really have an official episode 316 because, well, we did a Last of Us 2 spoiler cast, and we're just calling that 316. So this is 317, and alongside me today, I have my two favorite 17-year-olds at heart. That is James and Rhett.
Hello.
That did sound like an angsty 17-year-old.
Do you want to talk about your favorite dashboard confessional song, James?
I couldn't name one of them for like $64,000 on a game show.
That's fair. You and many, many others.
But I'm sure they all seemed very impactful at the time.
Sure.
Like one's youth, yes, very much so.
Of course. So thanks for taking this journey with us, everybody. We've not done a podcast in like 3 weeks, so I don't know about you guys, but I played a lot of games.
So much.
I've touched a lot of things.
Yeah.
And all of them games. So, yeah, I don't know who wants to go first. Rhett, you want to talk about your childhood? I know you've got some love for at least one of the games that you've been playing.
Yeah.
Or had some love anyway.
Destroy All Humans, for sure. This was a game that I don't know how high of a regard I held it in, as far as my childhood goes, but I know that I definitely had some time with this game as a child. I spent some time with this series as a child, and it was definitely, I don't know, it was kind of an important thing to me growing up, and this remaster, it's kind of made me rethink what I've thought was good. Man, where do I start with this Destroy All Humans remake or remaster, I should say?
It's like literally a PS2 game. It's still, right?
It's a PS2 game. Like, that's what I was saying in my review pretty much all throughout, was that I never once felt like I was playing a current generation game. It might as well be from that era. There's so many like little quirks and things from that generation of gaming that have made their way into this remaster that just have no business being there. Just like weird things like having to stand in specific spots for to activate mission objectives or to interact with anything in the world. Like, you need to like stand in these specific unmarked spots that the game doesn't exactly tell you what you need to do, and it's just like little things like that kind of reminded me of an era that is long past, and for good reason. It's I don't know, like, I really struggled with this one. I really struggled to stay invested with it. There were a couple nice special effects that they added to the game. Like, it had nice explosion effects, I thought. Yeah, right. Like, there were a couple things like that were like pretty to the eye that kind of scratched an itch, so to speak. But man, there's just so much that they didn't update, that they didn't fix, that needed fixing, that it just stands out so strong. Now, I will say that at least like the subject matter, it still holds up. It's still pretty fun to like go through Crypto's journey and kind of like relive this like Plan 9 from Outer Space style story where it's just like so campy, it's good, and that is still fun. That still holds up, but man, it just feels like you're playing something that's 20 years old.
I think arguably that generation is going to turn out to be the one that holds up the least well out of any gaming generation, the whole PS2 era.
Right.
Most of those third-party games are just so shit at this point.
Exactly.
There's obviously some exceptions, but for the most part, a lot of those games are just garbage now.
Exactly. So I was struggling to really like put my finger on how I felt about this game, because I'm like, did I really like this game as much as I did? Did I really think that it was as big of a part of my childhood as I did, or did I have some sort of like, I don't know, misconception about how I actually felt about this series? Was I remembering it the wrong way? I don't know, because playing this now, I'm like, this is not very good. It really isn't. And it could have a lot to do with the fact that the mission structure feels archaic. You're basically just hopping from one objective to the next, and it just feels so menial. It feels so just inconsequential. It feels like there's really nothing going on. And yeah, it just feels so old. That's really what my takeaway from this was. It just feels so old.
I think you're supposed to be more enthralled by the core gameplay loop. Like the idea of being the alien invasion, nuking loser humans and, blowing up their shit and like wrecking their lives and whatnot. That held a certain charm and appeal, and it was like a new, fun, cool idea back in the day. And once that shine wears off, that game is very mediocre.
Yes, that's perfect. That's a perfect summary of it.
Well, James, have you been playing anything better than Destroy All Humans?
That's a matter of some debate.
Oh, God, no.
I'll start with the one I remember the least.
Oh, shit.
Well, okay, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered, there was a preview event that I participated in, which did not involve me playing the game.
Okay.
So I did a write-up, and I, watched gameplay occur, and I saw some screenshots, and I read some material handed to me, but I didn't, play the game. And this is important, even without playing the game, I still feel a little nervous about this one for when it comes out. There's this mechanic that the original game used because everybody was limited to one screen and you had to share it. So you have this fucking chalice thing that you have to, one person in the party has to haul around from spot to spot while you're fighting, which is stupid, but the defined edges of the chalice sphere or whatever, like how you can't walk outside of it without getting poisoned and or murdered, makes it so that 4 people playing on one television don't wander off and get got or whatever. And the new version doesn't have local co-op. You have to play online, or one person's on one Switch, one person's on their phone, one person's on PS4, different houses, same house, whatever. But because you're not locked to a single screen anymore, in fact, you can't be locked to a single screen anymore, the premise of the chalice and the miasma doesn't make any fucking sense. There's no reason to have this mechanic without that technological limitation that they've handily removed. Some people would argue that it controls the pace of the game. I would say that's already bad because the pace of the game is very slow. And that's another thing. I feel bad for whoever ends up having to review this for the site, specifically because they're not going to get a really good grip on the online play, and the single player is going to be just the saddest fucking thing you've ever experienced. It's like one guy picking up a block to chuck into a receptacle, and you walk back slowly, and then you hop onto the other switch, and then the 2 hit, and then the door opens. Basically, puzzles meant for multiple people to participate in turn into these slow, laborious exercises in tedium when it's just you. And you, I don't know if it's what it's like for everybody else, but for me, whenever I'm reviewing a game with an online component and it's prior to release, it's like a fucking ghost town.
Yep.
So you have to just sort of extrapolate or guess or assume or hope that the online multiplayer is great. Because generally, reviewers don't tend to be online at the same time for some reason, no matter how many people get a copy of the game, or they're locked to various regional servers. So you never get that sense of camaraderie with, strangers or jack-offs or whatever before the game comes out. So I guess what I'm saying is that when the reviews come out for Crystal Chronicles, pay attention to how much to talk about the online component. My guess is they won't have a lot to say, which is a shame because it is like the only way to play this fucking game.
What I'm hearing is there's no way in hell they should have remade this.
In theory, it makes sense. Give it online multiplayer because the fucking original version required 1 GameCube, 4 Game Boy Advances, 4 connecting cables to plug those into the GameCube, and a copy of the game. So it's like a huge investment where either all your friends are the same kind of nerd you are, or you don't play it 4 players. And with this one, you don't even have to pay for the fucking game to get access to the first few dungeons. And if one of you buys it, the other 3 don't have to. You can play the first 13 dungeons for free as long as the person at the head of the party has purchased the game. So they addressed the problem of it being prohibitively expensive and made it really, really accessible. It's just, you have to play it online. You just have to.
Oh, this sounds like a mess waiting to happen.
Oh yeah, if the netcode isn't like fucking pristine, it's going to be a terrible experience. But unfortunately, again, we're not really going to know if it's good or bad until release date.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, though, it sounds like if that netcode is good, it sounds like it could be sweet.
Sounds like it could be perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
Did any of you ever play the original Crystal Chronicles?
Yes. And
Okay.
I remember that being the point in my life where I started to question whether Final Fantasy was still good.
Yeah, the sequels are not better. They are, in fact, somehow worse.
Oh, shit.
So either they make the best version of the best entry of a pretty mediocre series, or they have shot themselves repeatedly in the foot. And I don't know. I'm curious to see how she shakes out.
Boy. Well, I'm gonna help us exit the darkness, at least temporarily, because as promised, last time we got together, I did play both Ghost of Tsushima and Paper Mario.
Oh,
Right. Dope.
And my hot take on Paper Mario is it's pretty good. I do not like the battle system. I don't know. I find it really repetitive, and the boss battles are somewhat better because they're a little bit more puzzly. But there's something about the perspective that it gives you of the wheel when you're looking at it, even if it's a simple solution to the puzzle, it doesn't look simple. There's something about the angle that makes it unclear which ring should be spun or slid in order to be successful. And yeah, but it's charming as hell outside of that. If they had a different battle system, it would probably be a lot stronger of an entry for me.
That is the song sung of basically every Paper Mario game since the Thousand Year Door. It'd be a great game if the battle system was better.
Just give me the Super Mario RPG battle system. That was perfectly serviceable and enjoyable.
Yeah, it has action prompts for timing and better damage, while still having like a low level cap, but there being levels and you having the ability to grind so that the length of the game isn't fully decided by the designers. Like you can speed run Super Mario RPG.
Right.
Paper Mario, the Origami King, and several others before it takes as long as it fucking takes, and I'll thank you to keep your hands inside the car while it's traveling. Okay, you know, that sort of thing. The way the battles work is that you can't really move things along any faster than they're already going.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's true.
Like outside of the battles too, I really like finding toads and seeing what they have to say out in the world, but I don't like having to hit every fucking surface with a hammer 10,000 times in order to find them. I really just wanted to move on with the story and see what other interesting stuff they'd written, but my completionist inside of me wanted to make sure that I got all the toads because, well, the toads say funny stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was a real conundrum that I was just wandering around these giant areas and going through battles I didn't want to do and hitting things with hammers. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you loved it so much, Rhett. But for me, I don't know. I kind of fell away from it about 10 hours in.
That's fair. That's fair. It's been nothing but polarizing online, so I mean that's completely fair.
I think that's a sign of a good risk to have taken, is that, some people just kind of don't like it. But Ghost of Tsushima, much more positive.
Oh.
That game is fucking phenomenal. I love it.
So good, right?
My God, it does so many things correctly, and I've not felt this connected to an open world since maybe The Witcher 3. It does all the smart things to make you want to explore the world. Like James said in his review, the guiding wind is brilliant, but it does so many other things right that make exploring not a pain in the ass. Like in every other open world game in the world, or in the last 5 years or so, there's just random roving bands of bad guys everywhere, and they always know where you are, and you're always in combat. And that's terrible. But in this game, you can kind of go around the little bands of Mongols, or just avoid them completely. Or if you do want to engage with them, the combat is amazing. So
I love that the world reacts to the way that you're playing. If you're the if you're the ghost and you're sneaking through these camps and taking out the Mongols quietly as a samurai would not, the world becomes a darker place. Rainy, stormy, windy, thunderous, loud. It's like almost scary how the way that the weather changes. But if you're playing it like a samurai, it's beautiful. The sun is shining. And
it shifts quickly too.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can tell I've kind of been a shady motherfucker as soon as it starts getting stormy. And I like the way that it does not penalize you for using the options that are available to you.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of games, the load times are just prohibitively long. You'd fast travel and it'd be 90 seconds or 2 minutes, and you may as well just have walked. But I timed it in this game, and they are never longer than 7 seconds.
No, it's
Jesus Christ.
It's amazing.
All the way across the world, no problem. I love it.
How
do they do that?
I was actually reading about how they needed to extend the length of the loading screens just by a few seconds because there wasn't enough time for people to read the hints, the tips that were appearing on them. Yeah. So
really?
They had to actually artificially extend the times by just a few seconds because of that. Yeah. Yeah, like it's unbelievable how fast the game loads, how well the game is optimized. It's a big part of why I keep jumping back into it, because I know that I'm going to be right back into it just like that, Yeah, it's fantastic.
And I just love the art. The art is unbelievably stunning, even if it's not technically as high quality as something like The Last of Us. You get close to the mud and the texture isn't that great, but James, you weren't kidding. You go over every single rise in this game and you're hitting photo mode. You want to take a picture of this landscape, and it is stunning.
I had to force myself to stop. I was like, no, this isn't. I just let it go, man. Other people will take better pictures, and they have been. Holy shit.
Yeah.
One of our former coworkers, Rory's been posting just like a stream of like photo mode shots from this game, and they're all fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, man. And the other thing I love is the amount of tonal diversity in the game. If you want to go storm Mongol bases and just wreck shop, killing dudes left, right, and center, that's really fun because the combat is really, really good. But if you don't want to do that, you can just go follow a fox into the woods, or you can sit down and write a nice haiku and kind of actually reflect on what you've been doing to this world. It's not as one note as I must save the island of Tsushima. It's very much making you consider your actions and the path you're taking Jin down, which is superb. It's really, really good.
Right. One thing that I noticed playing the game, well, I should say two things. One, to go back to your point about how beautiful the game is, I am consistently finding myself like more and more impressed with the next stage of the game. I think that I've seen all the beauty the game has to offer, and then I go on this mission and it takes me to this fucking spot where I'm like in this duel under these golden and red and brown autumn leaves, and it's like, man, the game is just every single time I do something new, it's more and more beautiful. The further you get down the island, I feel like the game just gets more gorgeous. It's unbelievable. And then the other thing was that I noticed playing the game last night, I feel like with the way that the story is set up, and that Jin, he's supposed to be conflicted in becoming the ghost. It's like against samurai code to be doing the things that he's doing, and becoming the ghost is something that, I don't know, he thinks that maybe his father would disapprove of, or something like that. So I found that playing on the hardest difficulty, where you die in one shot, that caters to the storyline better than anything else. I feel like the game should be played on the hardest difficulty, because it makes becoming the ghost it makes becoming the ghost make sense. You can die in one shot, so why would I want to do a standoff and take these 10 guys on head on, when I can sneak through and not worry about getting hit once, and then you deal with the consequences of becoming the ghost. I feel like the game should almost be played on that difficulty to get the true experience. I kind of came to that conclusion last night, but yeah, just a little thing that I noticed that I was thinking of.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to mention about this game that I think it does an incredibly good job of is silently tutorializing the mechanics of the game, especially as you progress. A couple of nights ago, I progressed from the first section of the island to the second act to, that whole new area, and it immediately presented me with bad guys that I hadn't seen in the first part of the island. So spoilers for, 2 minutes if you don't want to know what happens in Act 2. But it showed me some of the Straw Hat Ronin right off the bat. And, they're using the same tactics that Ryozo had been using. And it just does such a nice job of teaching you, okay, these guys are now out and about. So you better be on your game, because they're tough. And they're a lot tougher than what you've seen before.
Yeah, they're so much more difficult than the Mongols. I love that touch.
Yeah. But it puts them into your way without telling you, okay, now these guys are here. Just, here, just see how you do against 3 of these dudes right away.
Yeah. I really suck at the standoffs with the Straw Hats. Something about the way they move, I just can't.
No,
I can get the timing down for most guys, but like the Straw Hats, I think I've successfully pulled a standoff strike against them like 2 or 3 times, and all the other times I'm like off by a half a second or so, and then it's just like, oh god.
Man, they're quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
they have tells just like all the other bad guys, but even when they put their sword back in the sheath and you're like, oh, I know exactly what you're gonna do, I'm gonna block it, and they're like, nope, you're too fast. And
I found it almost better to watch their feet. Once their feet start moving, that's the attack.
Interesting. I'm gonna keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably, it's not the best game because it's got problems. The camera is awful, especially if you're inside. But it's maybe the most fun I've had so far this year.
I am right there with you on that. There are things as well, like if you're say in a fight with 4 or 5 guys and there's like a crate right next to you, you can just hop up on the crate and the guys won't be able to attack you. Things gamey things like that.
Yeah.
Kind of, they kind of pepper throughout the experience, but it's never enough to like detract from what you're doing. It's never enough for you to stop and think like, oh man, I'm playing this game that's like kind of broken in a way. No, it's never like that. It's like you said, Paul, I'm probably having more fun with this than anything I've had all year.
It's one of those games where I find myself logging off at 2:30 a.m. on a work night and still seeing several people on my friends list playing it.
Yeah.
You included, Rhett. You're
I
guilty of this.
Uh, I'm just so addicted to it, and the way I'm playing the game, like I'm basically sweeping through the entire map, like fucking area by area, and completing everything before I move on. I just today, like I've got to be 35, 40 hours in, and just today, I did the mission in Act 2, where you claim the armor, the Sakai armor. Um, and yeah, I feel like I'm not that far into the story, but I've been playing for so long because, we were talking about it a little bit, Paul. It's just so fun to go and gank motherfuckers that are walking down the fucking, a group of Mongols that are up to no good. They've got maybe a hostage on the roadside. It's just so fun to roll around and engage with these enemies, to get into this combat. I haven't had this much fun with like hand-to-hand combat since the first Assassin's Creed. It just, everything feels so hard-hitting, so solid, so satisfying to finally like wear an enemy down and get the kill. It's just an immensely satisfying game.
Yeah, really, really strong. We should probably move on and talk about something else because we've got so many other things listed.
Yeah.
Rhett, why don't you tell me about Horizon Zero Dawn on the PC?
Yeah, so Horizon Zero Dawn on the PC is suffering from some pretty severe optimization issues. So the first like week that I had the code, the issues were so bad that I couldn't even really play the game. The PC that I was playing it on smoked the minimum requirements. Like it was nothing. But every time I would launch the game, I would get this little like dialogue box that popped up that would say, your system does not meet the minimum requirements. Do you want to launch the game anyways? And of course I would launch the game, and then things would actually run fairly well on like high settings. So I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then after, of course, 10 minutes or so, things would start to chug along. And I mentioned in my review that I felt like I was playing kind of a carnival game, where like I compare it to like whack-a-mole. I would fix an issue and another one would pop up, and I would fix that and then another one would pop up.
Yeah.
I would reduce the frame rate, but then the resolution would struggle, and then I would kick the resolution down, but then something else would go awry. And so I figured that, I initially thought that, okay, well, is this my PC? Is my PC starting to go? But everybody's review started to roll through, and it looks like that, this Horizon PC is just suffering from some severe optimization issues. If you don't have the highest of the high-end PC, I don't know, I think that you should probably just keep your distance for now. Anticipate that there will be, further updates that fix this game. I was mentioning to Paul a few days ago that I kind of liken this to the release of Arkham City, Arkham Knight on the PC. Yeah. Maybe it's not as bad because when Arkham Knight released, that game was pretty much unplayable. Regardless of what system you had, that game was unplayable. Horizon, I had it running pretty well on medium settings, but I mean, who's playing a PC game to play on medium settings,
Yeah. Sounds like the medium settings are basically the PS4 settings.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like I might as well have been playing on the PS4. Even when I kicked the game down to low, I couldn't achieve 60 frames per second. And again, like my PC wasn't, it's not the greatest piece of machinery in the world, but it fucking smoked the minimum requirements. Like on low, I should have been able to get 120 frames if I wanted. So yeah, that's where I'm at with Horizon PC. Now, of course, it's still Horizon. I've been playing it. I've been enjoying it. It's fucking amazing. You get all the DLC. Man, the combat is just so smooth in Horizon. Finally landing those like executions, and the way that battles become like these cinematic affairs. The way that they like actually add real like Hollywood style direction to the battles in like a seamless kind of God of War way.
Yeah.
It's really well done, and Horizon. There's a reason that Horizon is one of, you know, most people's game of the generation. It's on most people's game of the generation lists, for a good reason. You know, Horizon's a good game, but I don't know. This fucking PC port is.
It's one of the very, very few times that we've held a review back because the game was fucked.
I just did not feel comfortable submitting a review with the way that it was, you know? Yeah. And they released the patch and it solved... I felt like it did solve a few of the issues, but by no means did it solve like the frame rate problems.
It's not perfect, that's for sure.
No, exactly. And many people mentioned that in their reviews as well, that yes, the patch came in and they were expecting it to iron out the issues that the game was suffering from, and of course it didn't. And it's actually, I was looking at the Metacritic score. A Horizon PC is sitting with the same user score as The Last of Us 2 right now.
Ooh.
A 5.6, because it's just like it's unplayable if you haven't put $3,000 into your PC. I shouldn't say unplayable, that's not right, but it's not what you would want out of a PC port unless you've spent $3,000 on your PC.
So like, I'm kind of a moron when it comes to like these specific kinds of port problems. Like, is it one of these things where they just have it optimized for a very, very specific hardware setup, and then like anybody who's not rocking that particular hardware just ends up like,
well, I mean,
putting the pedal, yeah.
Well, the minimum requirements are like nothing that most PCs wouldn't have. You know, it doesn't seem like a game that's like that would be out of reach of the general population. I guess the recommended requirements are a little. I think that they're maybe on the high side. I mean, what is it, like a 20? Paul, maybe you know. Is it like a 2080 or something that they have?
Oh, really?
It's something like that as the recommended. Yeah, so it's a little high, but again, I mean, that's kind of a problem. I mean, your reaction to it, that kind of says it all. You know, it's recommending recommending a PC port at a 2080 isn't exactly consumer friendly, I would say.
That's so bizarre though, because this is the same. It's the same engine as Death Stranding, which arguably looks better in a lot of cases. Mm-hmm. And I did a review for that on the PC in the last couple of weeks here, and I have a 2070 and Death Stranding 4K 60 frames per second, everything maxed out, everything cranked all the way up, just locked in at 60 frames a second, not a single frame drop.
Mm-hmm. Well, optimization is one of Kojima's superpowers.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing with Horizon is that there is way more foliage in that game.
That's true.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I think most people are agreeing on is probably holding back the Horizon port. But yeah, it's like you said, you know, it's the same. It's running on the same thing as Death Stranding, and there's clearly like optimization issues here.
It could just be inexperience with PC porting. I don't think Guerrilla's ever done that before.
I'm gonna put out a guess here, just a little hand in the air guess, that maybe it has something to do with the fact that the minimum requirements and the recommended requirements require almost an identically fast CPU. Like, you would need a 3.5 gigahertz CPU for either both minimum and recommended, which is probably not good.
That's
not that, call me crazy, but normally there's more of a disparity between the two poles when it comes to your processing power. And it's got a higher choke point for CPU processing power than like any game I've ever reviewed.
Like, how can that be when the PS4 has a literal hamster on a wheel as the CPU?
Like, I use, little inside baseball, I use a 3.2 gigahertz processor for my CPU, and it's not great, it's not amazing, but it can still run most games pretty decently.
Yeah.
And the lowest they want is a 3.3 or a 3.5 for the minimum.
Yikes.
And then the highest is a 3.5. So I feel like that might be where they're having problems.
Are they so this is the first AAA port from Sony to a PC. Is Sony demanding the best of the best?
From Gorilla.
From Gorilla, yeah.
Well, Sony didn't actually publish the Death Stranding port. That was published by 505 Games.
Yeah. So this is Sony's first venture
PC
into
game.
the PC game,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. That's why this was a big deal. I wonder if if Sony is just demanding the best of the best, you know?
Interesting.
We don't want to see our game running any lower than this benchmark, which is kind of, well, I mean, that can't be the case. You know?
Yeah, because the PS4's CPU is nothing special. Really,
No,
any
no.
laptop has a better CPU anyway than the PS4.
Anyways.
Highly bizarre business.
Yep.
Yeah.
James, any other games you want to bring up and talk about?
I'll do the other two on my list real fast. Gundam. There's a longer name for it. I can't remember it. It's 6 words.
It had the word extreme in it.
Yeah, it's
It's Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme versus Maxi Boost On. And it's a 3D arcade fighter. Pros, there's 183 Gundam to choose from. Cons,
God.
there's 183 Gundam to choose from. Also, there's no other game modes besides using Gundam to fight other Gundam. There's not a story or anything or any quests you can do. It's just you can fight in this configuration or this configuration with a challenge attached to it. But that's basically it. So it's for Gundam fans exclusively, but Gundam fans will fucking love this game. Otherwise, your mileage may vary. The other title was Faye Tactics, which I found pretty fascinating, actually. It's like a send-up or an homage to Final Fantasy Tactics and Ogre Tactics, where it's got those sort of pixelated graphics on that 3/4 overhead view. And just a very traditional turn-based strategy RPG, but every action your characters take, even if you're not attacking, can still be useful and beneficial to the rest of the party. And there's no items you use in battle, so reviving people just takes one character using their action to do so. And healing is just something is associated with skills. It's a very streamlined, svelte, well-designed strategy RPG. I found the difficulty curves spiked and dipped in kind of really weird ways at really weird times. The third tutorial mission took me 7 tries for some reason.
Really?
And then I didn't have a lot of trouble for a while after that, but that was weird. And it seems to go from oh, you could, don't worry about it too much, you can probably do this, to get ready to use your whole fucking brain to succeed at every fight, even though you don't really need to do any level grinding or anything. But it's just every battle is all right, good luck figuring this out, you're gonna have a hell of a time. So if you're a strategy RPG fan who's been thinking, fuck, I really wish I had a good tough one that was also cute and with high quality pixel ass graphics, then Faye Tactics will be right up your fucking alley.
Nice.
Yeah.
It does sound fun.
A couple other things I've been playing a bit of. One is Crosscode, which is kind of a 2D action adventure RPG with some shooting and melee stuff. It's a little bit like, I don't know, maybe if you crossed Chrono Trigger with Hyper Light Drifter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's pretty cool. I like it.
Sounds cool. Anything you're crossing Chrono Trigger with, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's questionable if it's going to actually have that level of impact or writing.
Sure.
But the gameplay is really smooth. I was playing it on Game Pass, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool game. I don't know if I would have actually run across it if it wasn't on Game Pass. and the other one being Fall Guys.
Oh, fuck.
How do you feel about this game, Rhett?
I think that it needs a lot of work.
Yes.
But I think that there is a pretty good base here. You know, there are building blocks in place here that are lining up pretty well, but it needs work.
Yeah. I think for one, there's nowhere near enough games.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like you're playing the same thing over and over. I've noticed that, on Monday there will be a set of 6 or 7 games, and then on Tuesday there will be a different set of games. So I think that that's kind of how they're doing it. It's kind of Call of Duty-esque, where they're rotating playlists. But yeah, I know. I totally agree. Fuck that. You need to have every game in rotation all the time.
Yeah, and I don't think the balance between the games is necessarily locked up yet.
Yes, there are some that are incredibly simple to get through, and some that feel like they were made just to piss the player off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Total crapshoots where it is
totally
absolute
that.
luck. If you happen to get to the box that you need to jump on first, you're good. If you're after that, it is completely random whether you make it or not.
Oh, dude, the fucking seesaw game where it's like if you aren't generally in the head of the pack, you're going to be sitting back waiting for those fucking teeter-totters to straighten out so you can get across. It's fucked, man. The seesaw game is fucked. Also, any game that revolves around grabbing a tail off of somebody, that shit needs to be deleted from the game right now. Those games are the worst of the bunch by far, and it seems like they pop up more than any other. Maybe you're finding it to be a little bit different, Paul, but I find like every time I get to the finals, I should say 90% of the time, it seems like I'm playing Royal Fumble, where it's like you got to grab the tail, you got to be the one with the tail at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I mean it's got so much potential. This could be, I think, the next Rocket League caliber success for PS Plus and Sony and I guess Devolver in this case. But I think they got to iterate pretty hard, and they got to iterate fast.
Truly.
To keep people from falling off of it.
Playing in a party right now sucks. There's no like party options aside from like you join together and like you can play in the same, games, but there are no options for like sticking together, or like even something as simple as if you get eliminated, you need to cycle through the list of like, potentially 50 competitors to find your friend. Yeah, like just stuff like that really needs to be fixed. I also feel like they need to be a little bit more generous on the resources that they're doling out. The coins, the crowns. I mean, the crowns, you get for winning, so that makes sense. But it just seems like you need to play a lot to earn a little.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah. It's a really slow grind, especially when. Well, I mean, the season is pretty long, but it is a slow grind, especially once you've picked up a few levels.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta check this shit out.
It's free on PS4. Like, I totally recommend it. I would love to get, a bunch of people from COG together, try and get us into a room together. Like, it would be a ton of fun. Paul was saying, man, there's a lot of fun to be had here, but
it's charming as hell.
Yeah, it's charming as hell. Customizing the characters is a lot of fun. The items that I've seen roll through the shop have been a lot of fun. As expensive and kind of out of reach as they are, I think that they're on to something there. I mean, they stole exactly what Rocket League is doing and many other games, but they're definitely like on the right track with what they're doing there. It's just, I think it's a long race to run, and they've got a lot of catching up to do, so to speak, for this battle royale genre.
It's just a matter of time before they get to the Fortnite level where you're spending real money on a John Wick Fall Guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna happen. Exactly. Rhett, you got a few things left here. Why don't you give us the 30-second pitch on Crysis and the Red Dead update?
Yeah, Crysis. I don't know why I took this review for y'all. I took this review because I wanted y'all to know how I felt about this Switch port, because I know that I know that y'all care so much about my opinion on these Switch ports, and this one is fucked. Absolutely, right? I appreciate that. This one is absolutely fucked. I don't know why I took this game. I shouldn't say that the port is fucked, but as I've said many times on this podcast before, first-person shooters on the Switch are fucked. The analog sticks just do not work for these kinds of games, and Crysis is no different. It's just tough to like get the precision down. It's tough to aim. It's tough to get these kills. And I'm playing this game and I'm just like begging to go back to the PC version. So that's really how I feel about Crysis on the Switch. If you're thinking about playing it, just go play it on PC. Red Dead Online, fuck me, man. After 8, 9, 10 long fucking months of there being absolutely nothing added to Red Dead Online, Rockstar, Take-Two, they finally come out. They say there's going to be this massive, quote, massive Red Dead Online update. They're going to add this new role and there's going to be a bunch of new shit. The game, the update comes out and there is nothing to fucking do. This new role that they've added, the naturalist, get the fuck out of here with that nonsense. There's 2 new characters that have been added. There's Gus and Harriet. Harriet is a lady from like the PETA organization, essentially. And
fuck that.
Right, exactly. So one of the big problems with Red Dead Online has been the fact that animals have not been spawning into the game. So they finally fixed that with this massive update. And Harriet, now she is like a boss, essentially. And if you are killing animals, then you can't interact with Harriet. And you can't advance the role. You can't advance the new naturalist role. So there's this big... there's this big conflict in the game, you know, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, hunting is a big part of the game, but now the naturalist role is a big part of the game. So you're kind of like conflicted as to what you're supposed to be doing. And the advantages for doing, you know, the advantages for taking on the naturalist role, for example, are minimal. You get nothing out of it. So there's this character Gus that's been added to the game as well, that is actually a bit more interesting than Harriet. You know, if you're hunting animals, you can take their pelts to Gus and you can get these new like legendary pieces of clothing, essentially. You know, you'll get like a special raccoon hat or a coat made out of a bear skin, stuff like that, which is actually pretty cool. But if you're doing that, you can't progress the naturalist role. So it's just a bunch of, I don't know. It's just like it's a big runaround that they've released, and it's kind of conflicting players, and people are kind of lost as to what to do. And as far as, you know, anything else being added to the game, because they said that this was going to be a massive update, nothing, like, it feels like nothing else has been added to the game. So sorry, I know that was a little longer than 30 seconds, but man, Red Dead Online, you're really fucking with me right now.
I got a quick question. Is Red Dead Online supposed to be fun? Or is it supposed to fucking suck?
Okay. It's supposed to suck right now because it's following the same trajectory as GTA Online. And GTA Online sucked very much. It sucked very much for the first couple years that it was on the PS3. Then the PS4 came out, and GTA Online started to get proper updates. It got heists, it got the casino, it got many updates that have now actually made the game very fun. Red Dead is in that same purgatory right now as GTA was in those first couple years. Once the PS5 comes out and we can get the proper like Red Dead Online that I know Rockstar has been working towards, I think it's going to start to get fun. I think we're going to start to see updates to the game like we do with GTA. It's crazy that GTA is still getting updated as much as it does. They just had another like massive content release added to the game last week, man. So yeah, it's going to get there, but right now, man, they're dropping the ball.
So don't bother unless you've got a 600-day streak going.
Well, I
Yeah, so hey, Rhett, quick question. Is this garbage gonna be enough to get you to break your streak, or are you just like in it for the long haul? Like, what's your deal?
Okay, my problem with breaking the streak is that to continue the streak, I literally need 5 minutes. I need 5 free minutes in a day. And I can't not find those 5 minutes. I'm at 325 days right now. I'm coming up on a year. Today I traveled.
Maybe it might be 5 minutes of playing the game, but there's 30 to 40 minutes of the game loading up, and then 3 to 4 hours of loading into the world.
You bite your tongue. 30 to 40 minutes. This ain't no GTA.
Oh fuck! It's just as bad.
No. GTA takes a long time, but Red Dead, once I'm on that main menu, which takes maybe
once
30
you're
seconds
on the
to get
main
to.
menu.
Once it takes maybe 30 seconds to get to.
Once you're on the main menu, it takes
and then
5 minutes minimum to get to the main menu.
No, 5 minutes.
You know what?
It
Rhett,
takes. I would
time
say
it out.
I will.
Time it out.
I will.
Turn.
Prove
you
me
start
wrong.
the
Yeah,
clock.
prove
You
me
turn
wrong.
on your PS4, and then from there, we'll stop the clock once you finish your daily login stuff and you're ready to move on to something else.
I will. I'll time that out. Now, I will say that without a doubt, there are times when you sign in and it's loading, and then it just ends up into like a continuous load. It's a known bug. The game, it's been suffering for 2 years from this bug. Where, so if that happens, sure, Paul, sure.
2 years it's been suffering from this bug.
I swear it's gotten a little bit better, especially with this last update. Maybe that was part of the massive update, was that they ironed out this bug a little bit. But yeah, there's still been a couple times where it's been stuck on an infinite load. But yeah, I'll time that out, because when it does work, there's no way it takes 5 minutes. I swear to God, it's probably like 90 seconds. And then once you're in, you're in. That's the thing with GTA is with Red Dead. Once you're in, you're in.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Next up, we promised we would do this last time, and that is we're going to do the thing we did with the PlayStation PS5 showcase and for the Xbox showcase this time. We are going to run through the games and give you the hottest of hot takes. And I don't know about you guys, it's been a couple weeks since this happened. I barely remember some of these games because they were oh so memorable.
I would say probably.
Okay. Well, we'll do our best, all right? We'll see what we can come up with. If we can't, then I guess too damn bad, Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what did you guys think generally of this showcase?
I wasn't blown away. It was pretty boring. It was pretty whatever. There was 5 or 6 minutes of gameplay for a 45-minute presentation, which is not a good start.
Yeah, was Halo the only gameplay in the whole thing?
I think it might have been.
Man, the thing that really bothered me right off the top, even though there was, a little bit of gameplay, is that nothing in the whole thing, except maybe Forza, said specifically that this is running on Xbox hardware. Nothing was taken from a game, nothing was in engine, nothing was on a Series X, and that is extremely concerning for a system that is presumably like less than 3 months away from release.
Even Halo Infinite, right?
I did ask them, in fact, if Halo Infinite was running on an Xbox Series X, and no, it was running on a PC.
Is that not bizarre?
That is super concerning. That is a big red flag.
I was mentioning last time that with Xbox Game Pass and the PC, like how Microsoft is getting into the PC gaming, how they're bringing all of their franchises to the PC, is this Series X necessary? I'm just not sure if it's necessary.
I mean, I think we're going to find out. James, you were going to say something.
I was going to say, do you think we're going to see a new generation with like a Red Ring of Death type problem? Do you think that maybe this hardware is a bit premature, so to speak, and we're gonna get some problems?
I mean, they did They packed a lot of horsepower into that tiny box, and there's one fan.
Oh my god.
Right?
So
Listen, they've dropped the ball immensely before. Until they prove otherwise, I mean, who's to say they won't do it again? You know? I mean...
oh god. I mean, I hope it's amazing. I hope it is the exact correct system to really challenge Sony and push them and make this a real war again. But I got reservations, friends.
I agree, because a lack of competition breeds, complacence. And
For sure.
yeah, like I absolutely am with you, Paul. I hope that this thing is kick-ass and it makes Sony, Sony's ears perk up, and I hope that they fucking take notice, and I hope that they, put their heads down and barrel forward even harder, because the Series X is looking like it's going to be, a beast. I hope that happens, but I don't know with this showcase.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know.
This was their big chance to show off what this most powerful console ever can do, and I don't know. It was a little bit like a wet fart.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
But anyways, let's go through the games. I've organized them in alphabetical order because I don't know why.
Because you wanted to.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Yeah. I could have gone chronological, but I wanted to save a little bit. I wanted to save those Halo thoughts for somewhere down the line here.
Love it.
Okay, so does anybody remember As Dusk Falls? What was As Dusk Falls?
Yeah.
I Googled it before the podcast, and it is the one that is like a visual novel.
Yes.
Post-apocalyptic. Okay. There's some families, and it's got kind of static scenes with some cool zooming camera work. The art looks kind of neat. Very narrative driven.
Exactly.
It looks interesting, if not groundbreaking.
That's exactly it. If there was a less interesting game to reveal, I would like to see it. You might as well be...
Dude, we're one item down the list. We're gonna see it.
That's a very good point. You might as well have been revealing a Telltale game from 8 years ago. Oh
my god.
No, truly though, there's nothing that this game did that makes me want to buy the system, or nothing that they showed off at least that makes me interested in the system. The visuals are, I don't know, like I'm looking at pictures of it right now, and it's essentially just like a painting. Like the game looks like painting after painting after painting, and it's not that it's bad, it's just that it's completely uninteresting.
Well, that ship has sailed, right? If you're going to do that thing, it's got to either have a wildly unique art style, or it's got to tell an extremely interesting story, and I don't think they proved either of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet anyway.
Okay, so Avowed looks like it could be really, really cool.
Maybe.
Potentially.
Maybe.
Because it's a first-person RPG from Obsidian with like swords and sorcery and shit. Like that could be a fucking big swinging home run.
Hell
maybe,
yeah.
but we don't know anything about it. But like,
yes, yeah. I think this is the one that most people were agreeing on. That just from the trailer, it looks like it could have the most potential, but they showed nothing.
Well, the trailer was CG.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
None of that is from a game engine.
That's what I'm saying, is that they showed nothing even close to gameplay, so who knows. But I think that people were just liking the subject matter. They were liking the themes, and people were saying that this could have the most potential.
Well, if the premise is this is Obsidian with no time restrictions, no money restrictions, making their version of Skyrim, it's probably going to be pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yes.
Yeah.
Even that little bit when the player character starts casting the spell right at the end of the trailer, I was like, yeah, put that in. That'll be good.
Yeah.
but again, obviously, really far down the road.
Right?
They've got literally nothing to show.
Exactly. What do you say about this, really?
I was expecting to see more in the way of things that we might see in a year or so.
Yeah.
Crossfire X, actually, maybe the most graphically impressive thing they showed.
Yeah. I'm looking at gameplay right now. And
It looked cool.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that they've got some cool animations in the game. The reloads are looking kind of cool.
And interestingly, the campaign is being done by Remedy.
Oh, interesting.
So the campaign could be really, really good.
Yeah. Interesting.
I definitely didn't hear that. That's new information. That's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you liked Control or Alan Wake, maybe Crossfire X is the first-person shooter for you.
Yeah.
They also showed some more Destiny.
Sweet.
The Beyond Light update.
Sweet.
Okay, sure.
The only reason I put this on here and the only reason I wanted to mention it is because graphically it looked way fucking better than Halo.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would hope so.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, what didn't look better than Halo? Fucking As Dusk Falls looked better than Halo. I shouldn't say that, but yeah, no.
It kind of did, though.
It did, right? Like, Destiny 2, though, Beyond Light. Is anybody still playing Destiny? James, Paul, do you guys play this?
I never did, man.
Never did,
I
yeah.
got little room in my life for
Right.
loot grinds. I try to keep those to an absolute minimum.
Yeah.
I feel
I
ya.
fell off Destiny after the first expansion in the first game.
Totally.
I think it was called The Dark Below. I was done after that.
It was some bullshit like that, and Beyond Light, honestly, it's not looking like it's changing the formula up in any significant way. If they're expecting players that may have fallen off to come back with this, I think they've missed the mark. And if they're expecting to get new players, I think that there will be, I don't know, maybe they'll see a surge of players, just a new system and new game, people may be looking for something to play, but I don't know, man. I think that they missed the mark here.
All those games are just completely insurmountable. There's way too many resources and like loot options and factions and collectibles. People starting a game like Destiny, especially now, have absolutely no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And I would guess that probably 90% of people bounce off within an hour.
Yeah.
Because they have no fucking clue what they're doing.
Absolutely. And the game doesn't really get good until you're max level. It doesn't
fuck
really
that
start,
noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
God,
there's
fuck off.
there's that. If that was the one reason why I never wanted to start a new character, why I never deviated from my hunter, is because I didn't want to go through 20-30 levels again of
Yeah.
nonsense.
Forgettable bullshit.
Forgettable bullshit, exactly.
Everwild. What is this?
This is Rare's next open world games as a service thing, but like a beautiful fantasy setting instead of pirates.
Okay, so Sea of Thieves 2.
Yeah, but tonally and graphically so different as to be almost impossible to compare them.
Yeah.
I mean, it might still be a skeleton slowly being built into a fucking person over the course of 2 years, just like Sea of Thieves was, but
That's exactly what I was gonna say, is that I really hope that this isn't a fucking skeleton of a game when it comes out. Please just release.
They must have learned their lesson, right?
Right?
There's got to be a campaign. There's got to be some content.
Yes, release this
Yeah,
with stuff to do, please.
don't spend 2 years getting hung up on the fucking player-directed stuff.
Oh, fuck that. Sea of Thieves should have been the coolest game ever made.
100%. I feel like they spent an almost ridiculous amount of time figuring out how a group of people would sail the ship, and they didn't focus on anything else. They just kind of threw a bunch of mishmashed ideas together for everything else.
Yeah, and any random four morons figured out how to sail in 5 minutes, and that was it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I really wish they had shown more of what this is all about. Just even a snippet, a few seconds of what the gameplay looks like, to really whet the appetite, because I want to be interested in this game. But from what they showed, I'm like, okay,
Great. See
this might
you
be
in a year.
nothing.
Yeah.
Dude, story of this fucking showcase, though, right? Please
Yeah.
just give us a few seconds of gameplay. Show us what this is
Yeah.
going to be like. Just something. Give us something.
Xbox's 2020 showcase is just see you next year.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
We
sorry.
still aren't ready. Sorry.
Yeah.
Summing that up absolutely perfectly, Fable.
Dude,
Holy shit.
exactly.
Why bother?
Truly.
Yeah. A Fable game is coming. We didn't need to spend a minute and 20 seconds on this. That was too long.
Literally everybody knew that Playground was making Fable.
Yeah.
Show anything at all.
Yeah.
It's just not enough. Like, if you're expecting people to pick Xbox over PlayStation this year, that Fable reveal doesn't do that.
No.
People are going to look at what PlayStation showed and go, I can play Spider-Man this fall. Or I can maybe play Fable, I don't know, 2022, 2023.
Exactly.
If they had nothing to show, how early is that game? It's,
And
is there anything there?
This one.
We don't know.
You know this one will be on PC, and it'll probably be better on PC. So I can get I can get Spider-Man in the fall, and I can not get a Series X, and then I can still get Fable.
Yeah.
Boy.
The other thing I noticed with a lot of games from this showcase is, despite what Microsoft has said about things being for both Xbox One and Xbox Series S or Series X, although Series S basically confirmed at this point, most of these games just said Series X and PC.
Yeah.
Like, Fable was one of those, Everwild was one of those, and Forza Motorsport was one of those that didn't mention Xbox One, which I thought was a weird kind of silent backpedal.
Interesting. Very interesting. But it would make sense, like, especially for a like a franchise staple like Forza.
Mm-hmm.
It would make sense that they don't put any resources, spend any of their money, or spend any of their time on the previous generation game. I mean, with games prior and in years prior, if history has shown that if a game is being developed for a next-gen system and a current-gen system, the next-gen system inevitably suffers because of development with the current-gen system. And so, I think that, to your point, that's an interesting observation, that maybe they figured we can't like, saddle next-gen Forza with this current-gen bullshit. We need to just develop our game the way we want it to, and it's going to be on the Series X. And if and to their credit, I think that that's a good move. I think that that's almost what they need to do. They need to give the consumer a reason to have the Series X. Forza is a good reason. It's
that's a good point.
At least,
but
for
I
racing
almost think
fans.
that's not. I almost think that's not quite far enough.
Yeah.
Because although they've now jettisoned the Xbox One, they're still dragging the PC along. And part of the thing that is going to sell people on these next gen consoles is the guaranteed presence of an SSD. Developers know that there's an SSD in the Xbox Series X and in the PlayStation 5, and so they can design for that. But if every Xbox game is also coming out on PC, you can't guarantee that a PC has an SSD or has an SSD that is as fast as the ones that are going to be in these consoles. So that makes it impossible for Xbox game studios to design for an SSD.
Good point.
That might be something that we see in the near future. Like, there might be a trend where it's like, oh yeah, you can play this on PC, but make sure it's installed on an SSD. Like, I get the feeling now is the time from here on out we're going to start seeing that, like, at first in the background, or like it'll show up in reviews, and then eventually it'll just be like a PC requirement where it's like, no, you have to have an SSD for this game because they've been like developing side by side with these next generation consoles.
Yeah,
It could be.
that's a good point.
Like, we have to fucking make the move
Oh yeah.
collectively at some point. It might as well be now.
Yeah.
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 Like the struggle though is going to be getting SSDs that are as fast as the ones in the consoles into PCs. Most of the especially the 2.5 inch regular size SSDs are nowhere near that fast. So it could be a couple years down the road, but yeah, I think maybe you're right, James. We might see that shift. But Forza looks amazing.
Oh,
If the gameplay looks that good, it's pretty outstanding.
absolutely gorgeous as usual. I think Forza is probably the one game that Microsoft didn't need to show gameplay, because as if Forza's not going to be good, you know?
You know what it's
They've
gonna be. Yeah.
they've proven themselves time and time again, and the new Forza is going to be fucking amazing. Man, it looked gorgeous too. My goodness.
That's the side by side I really want to see. Is Gran Turismo 7, Forza Motorsport,
yeah.
side by side, same track. How good do they look? What are the differences? Let's stack these babies up.
It's interesting. I think that battle is more interesting than it's ever been. So it's exciting
yeah.
times for racing fans for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. How about the gunk?
What the fuck is this?
I looked up pictures and I still can't remember what this is.
Gunk.
Sorry.
Yeah. Hold on.
The gunk, it looks like an action platformer thing.
Where you're sucking up goo. So it's like Mario Sunshine or Luigi's Mansion, but like not. So that's cool.
I mean, I would give this one a try, if only because it's being developed by the people who made the SteamWorld games. And
Yeah, that's fair.
SteamWorld Dig is so good. If they can do that kind of charm and that kind of interesting level design in 3D, I would be interested in playing that.
No, I think this might be one where there's like little hype, but the end product is just great, you know?
Yeah, little dark horse action.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, this one, I'm watching the official trailer right now. At least we actually got gameplay with this. You know?
Yeah, that does look like gameplay to me.
Yeah. So
That's nice.
I get a sense of what the game's about, and like you said, Super Mario Sunshine. It looks like a 2020, 2021 version of Super Mario Sunshine. It kind of looks interesting.
This guy also coming to Xbox One.
Yes. For
Sounds
sure.
like.
This kind of game, absolutely. I would hope that it does show up on both consoles.
All right, fellas. We're at Halo Infinite.
Jesus Christ.
And by God, if it does not look like a mid-tier, low-budget Xbox One title.
And man, like, it was getting ripped apart online too. I was looking at
And rightfully so.
right, yeah, like, we did, Paul. We were talking about how if you are looking for that classic Halo experience, that classic Halo 1 experience, if you've been missing out on that, then Halo Infinite's probably going to be your game of the year.
Yeah.
But for everybody else, what's going on?
Yeah, anybody looking for like a flagship Xbox title is probably feeling pretty burned right now.
Like, to step up on my soapbox for a second here, this is a product that is trying to do everything and thus doing nothing. It's retaining some of the things from Halo 4, Halo 5, like the sprint, like some of the items, but also trying to go back to what made the original Halo so pure, which was having none of that shit. It was walking around, jumping, and shooting things. But they've also added in these other things. So it's not really that pure experience, but it's not really as far as the people who like Halo 4 and 5 are going to be looking for. It's a very strange, like, design by committee looking product. That said, I think the shooting looks relatively fun, even despite the Craig the Brute meme. But graphically, this was the game that was supposed to show the world, this is what our fucking machine can do. This is why it's the best. And it's blowing the fucking pants off of anything that Sony could possibly have shown. And it did the exact opposite of that. It looks like the most run-of-the-mill, mediocre Destiny clone around. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but fuck me if that gameplay did anything to show me otherwise.
It looks like the Halo sports game update of this generation. You know what I mean? It looks like the most basic of improvements being made to the Halo franchise. It's essentially an updated roster, you know?
Yeah. And even the things that they were pushing as this is really cool just didn't look that cool.
Yeah.
Using the grappling hook, that didn't look fun. It looked slow and clunky and boring.
Yeah.
You know? Like, blow me away, people.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the souped up Xbox One X, Xbox Series X version of this game will fucking take our pants right off from 30 feet away, but like, I don't know. I don't know what turning the graphics settings to max on that gameplay is really going to do.
Yeah. I feel like the trailer that they showed off is probably running at max, and it looks like Halo 1. I mean, you know.
That's a question I actually asked of the devs. For one, they showed us a behind closed doors commentated version of that demo run. And while I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, is this the same demo? Or is this literally an identical run? So I went back and I watched the gameplay that they showed at the live stream event, and then matched it up with the notes I was taking as I was watching the gameplay. And it is literally beat for beat identical. So they didn't play through the demo again and stop and show things off. They just played the video and talked over it.
Oh.
And is the game in that bad a state that you had to do that exact run? Or that was the one run that you got? I'm really confused because I've never seen that out of a preview build before. If I've ever been shown something behind closed doors that was the same demo, they're always stopping to show off this thing or show off this mechanic or show you the map in a little more depth, just to give you a little bit more to go off of when you're writing or making a video about what you've seen. And that just wasn't there. And a lot of the questions were, I don't want to say evaded, but they were sticking very hard to the line of spiritual reboot or a spiritual successor to Halo 1. It's going to run great on Series X. It's also going to run great on Xbox One. And one of the other questions I asked during this event was, so you're saying this is something that could not have been done in a previous generation because the power of the Series X makes it possible. How can that be when this also runs on Xbox One? And the answer was, it runs great on Xbox One. And I just don't know where the marketing speak ends and where the game begins. I'm so curious to get this thing in my hands and see what it actually is.
It kind of sounds like we're not getting a flagship Xbox title until next year or later. Like, this is not it. It can't be, like you said, because it's running perfectly fine on both systems. By definition, it's no longer a flagship Series X title if it meets that first metric. And they're just like using slick language to dance around that fact and be like, no, guys, don't worry. Next year, we'll have something that really pushes the envelope of this system, but please buy a Series X in November anyway.
Please. Anyway. That's the end of my rant about Halo Infinite. I am so concerned.
Very.
But I hope that it's the most fun ever.
Yeah.
All right, what's
Well, the next thing I put on this list is Hellblade, because technically it was at the showcase. But why didn't they show more of this?
Truly, since they've already shown off the game previously.
Or have they? Was that just a CG render
fair.
of this is what we think we can make?
Right, yeah. Well,
Concerning
that's what I'm
stuff,
saying
man.
though. Is that like the CG render that they showed off? Like they've unveiled the game. They should have been showing gameplay here. I am not sure why they didn't. Yeah.
I would hazard a guess that there's a reason. But-
yeah, with a team this size, I would be more likely to pin this on COVID.
That could be. That's a good point.
Like I think there's going to be some games where it's like they should have made more progress by now. It's like, yeah, they probably should have, but they couldn't for, obvious reasons, and so this is what we get. Like Halo Infinite doesn't necessarily get that same pass because their team is enormous and all they literally have to do is communicate better. Like,
You're asking a lot, sir.
and I know, but like, yeah,
It's fine. I think Ninja Theory can just take their time on this.
Yeah, for sure. That's fine. If they got nothing because the schedule has been rolled back, that's fine. Do what you got to do to get it out there. You didn't bet a fucking console launch on this game being out at a certain time and at a certain quality. It's okay.
It's a good thing they didn't do that with any other games.
No kidding. The Medium looks conceptually very cool.
Yeah.
Much like a lot of things that Bloober Team puts out, they're very good at like scaring you in a cool, interesting way.
I got kind of a weird The Evil Within vibe from this game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
It looks very interesting, especially if they're actually doing that split screen, both worlds rendered at once thing. That sounds like the kind of gameplay innovation I'm looking for from a game like this.
Yeah, this is one of those ones like Ratchet and Clank for the PS5 where it's like, we designed this specifically for this system and its unholy powers. Behold what it can do.
And I beheld.
Yeah. Outer Worlds and Phantasy Star Online 2, I don't really give a fuck about cards on the table because one is a new version of a game that's been out for like 8 years.
So long.
So it's just it's like World of Warcraft coming up with a new expansion. I don't care. People do care. I'm happy for those people. It's not really worthy of a showcase.
No.
I understand why you have to put it in because they made a big stink about bringing Phantasy Star Online to 2 Xbox and 2 Microsoft servers last year, so they have to like follow up and be like, look, we're doing more shit with it. It's great. Outer Worlds is like an expansion or like a DLC or whatever, so I'm fully checked out. It'll be great when it comes out. Hype levels at 0. That's fine.
Yeah.
What about Psychonauts? I have very mixed feelings about this game.
I think it's one of those things where we're transplanting a nostalgic sensation from a bygone era to the modern age and dragging the development team and their crusty ass ideas along with them.
It sounds like fucking Destroy All Humans, the fucking remaster. Like, it's just the product of a bygone era. That's a good example. That's a very good point.
Well, I will
yeah.
say that I think at least the power of current and next consoles will make this somewhat more of an interesting proposition when it releases. Because I do know from people who have seen the game previously at E3 that the other areas that they've shown are completely different. not just aesthetically different, but completely conceptually different ideas. So if that is a consistent or a constant across the whole game, that could be very interesting. But the style of game is very dated.
Yeah, it's another one where we're gonna have to like see the receipts, so to speak, before we can really make a judgment.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this and I'm like, Psychonauts 2 system seller, really Xbox Showcase system seller? Like I don't know. Doesn't compute.
Nope. Not for me. What about either of Stalker 2 or State of Decay 3, neither of which showed anything even approaching game engine footage?
It was just, hey, we're making these games. Check back in 6 months to a year. We might have some stuff for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, great. I guess we'll do that. Bye.
Yeah,
Man,
I
like
desperately hope that they've pumped some serious cash into Undead Labs to make State of Decay 3 deliver on the promise of 2, which was just woefully underbaked. Had some great ideas, but just the execution was awful.
We're in some serious hype debt with that franchise.
Oh my god, yeah. But I would play a Stalker game.
Yeah.
Yep.
If I'm remembering correctly, the team that made Metro kind of spun off of the people that made Stalker.
Okay.
Can't remember. Anyway, tell me why, Rhett. Tell me why I should care.
You shouldn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about another like Telltale game that they released, this looks like maybe not a Telltale game, but it looks like the sequel to what's the name of the game? It was quite popular on
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange. Yep. Exactly.
Because it's the same people,
right?
Rhett.
Yeah, no, exactly. Same. But that's what I'm saying. Is like, why do something different? Make something that interests me. Life is Strange felt like a Telltale ripoff, maybe you want to say. And tell me why. It just looks like more of the same bullshit.
I mean, I'd love
sort of sounds to me like you have personal biases against these games.
Telltale games I fucking love. Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us, Batman. Like, man, I love those games. But this, like, I'm looking at images of this game and like you're telling me that this is gonna sell a system? This is gonna sell the Series X? It looks like a fucking PS3 game.
Well, yeah, graphically it's not the most impressive thing in the world, but something like Life is Strange, I think was, especially the first one, was better than any of the Telltale games. The story it told was more relatable. It was much more interesting to play. Whether this one will be enough of a level up above what they've done before to make it make sense is a question. But I would really like to see Don't Nod take another stab at some of the other kinds of games they've made. They made that kind of open world game, Remember Me, before they made Life is Strange. And that was although it wasn't great, it was arguably way more interesting.
Remember Me.
So, this is kind of a more of the same move.
That's what I'm saying, though. I would have liked to see a departure. I would have liked to see them maybe get back to their roots. These fucking story-driven games that, they are story first, gameplay second. At this point, I feel like they're a dime a dozen, And this didn't look like it's doing anything new or interesting enough to, again, make me want to buy this system.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
What about Tetris Effect? Connected.
Now, here we go. Fucking right. I love Tetris Effect. I fucking love Tetris Effect. Again, though, like, I'm not kidding myself. A system seller? Come on.
Well, this update is coming to the other platforms as well.
Oh, really?
With a timed exclusive, so next summer, people who already own Tetris Effect will be playing the same thing.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that'll be me. I'll be playing this update on the PS4 next summer.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think that it's cool, timed content. I'm don't get me wrong, I'm a PlayStation guy for sure, first and foremost, but I appreciate timed content. If the Xbox has timed content, that's cool. I think that that sort of stuff is great for a company, a developer, what have you. Tetris Effect, not exactly the game that, again, is going to sell a system by any means. But Tetris Effect is very good. If you like Tetris, I've had more fun with Tetris Effect than I've probably had with Tetris in 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Come on now. Who doesn't like Tetris?
Exactly.
Everybody likes Tetris.
Especially when you start to actually get good at it, when the things start to connect and you actually start to understand, and you get good with T-spins and the more intricate moves of Tetris. It's just so satisfying, and it's so it's like the ultimate OCD game. If you've got OCD, man, and you figure out Tetris, man, it's just so rewarding. And Tetris, like I was saying, Tetris Effect, I've had more fun with that in the past little bit than I've had with Tetris in a long time. So I think it's cool that they're getting exclusive content, or timed content, I should say. But yeah, system seller, probably not.
And ditto for that Warhammer 40K game,
Yeah.
which kind of looks like 40K crossed with Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks fun.
Yep.
Although, again, it wasn't gameplay, I don't think.
No, I think it's another one, it's sort of a signal to fans of the franchise to be like, hey, we got some new cool shit coming down the pipe for people who play these kinds of games.
Yeah.
Which, Warhammer 40K has a pretty dedicated, high-powered fan base.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think this one will do just fine. I'll probably never play it, but
No.
toast to the people who will.
Truly.
So, overall, thinking about this showcase, what kind of letter grade do you think Microsoft deserves for this big blowout of Xbox content?
Probably about a D+ at best.
Wow.
It's harsh. C-.
Yeah. I would go for a solid C.
Yeah, C minus, because if we're grading each one individually, then the averages are so low that it brings the total letter grade down. Every single one of them gets points deducted for not having a fucking gameplay,
Yes.
and then Halo Infinite gets a come see me after class for failing to be an Xbox Series X game, which was kind of the point of the fucking conference.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Halo Infinite.
So yeah, C minus.
Halo Infinite is getting the fucking note to be sent home to the parents, right? It's
Yeah, have this signed and bring back.
right.
Yeah, the next day.
Yeah.
Fair. Fuck.
Another thing I noticed watching through that gameplay is just a level of polish that is missing. There's one point where the chief kills one of the brutes, and you can see the exact moment that the brute's health hits 0 because the animation completely stops and it just kind of T-poses and falls sadly to the ground.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's, I don't know. God,
yeah.
guys, when are they going to tell us about prices of these things?
Oh God.
The fucking week before
I
they
was
come
gonna
out.
say November 15th.
Christ. Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like honestly, it's got to be at Gamescom, which is still happening, just not in person.
When is
That's
that?
at the end of the month.
End of the month. Okay, so yeah, you got to figure. End of the month, we'll have September, October. It's getting to the point now where you're almost crossing the point of it being too short of a time for people to save up money for these systems. So you need to, Gamescom. I think that's a good call.
Oh well, guys, I'm drained.
Mm.
That was tough. That was a lot.
Yeah, that was a big one. Big swings.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts? Anything you're looking forward to in the next bit here?
Yeah, I got one final thought.
Yeah.
Y'all seen that Prince of Persia Dagger of Time trailer?
No.
Oh shit. It's like a fucking it's like a hybrid movie kind of VR like theater experience. It's fucking bizarre. Y'all need to go see the trailer. People are absolutely tearing it apart online. It's like this like thing where you go to select venues with your friends and you put on these VR headsets and you play this Prince of Persia game. It's fucking bizarre. The trailer looks lame as fuck, and you all need to go check it out.
Fuck is this?
Man, you all need to check it out. Zane reported it on COG Connected, and you all need to go check it out. It's a fucking joke.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
This looks like the worst FMV game ever.
Oh, that's amazing.
Truly.
Holy shit.
It's funny.
All right, sick. Everybody look that up and get your tomatoes ready.
Jesus.
Yeah. I wonder, like, what are these venues going to be? Will they be movie theaters? Will they be, I don't know, Ubisoft, like Ubisoft venues that they said, like, I don't know. How is this going to work? It'll be interesting.
There's a website, UbisoftEscapeGames.com.
Ooh.
Oh my god. Okay. All right, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Guys, I can't take anymore.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I left you guys with this.
I can't take it anymore. This is too much. So
Yeah.
I think that's got to be the end of the podcast. We've got to get out of here.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Play Ghost of Tsushima if you haven't. It's really, really fucking good.
Definitely go do that, and definitely go check out the Prince of Persia, the Dagger of
God.
Time trailer.
And thank you so much for taking this journey, this odyssey with us. We're so appreciative. Obviously, subscribe again to the YouTube, subscribe again to the podcast on every podcast platform that exists, because just have it in multiple places. It's safer that way. Listen to it multiple times. We would like you if you did that.
For sure, 5 star as well.
Give it 5 stars, obviously. 6 if possible. And
Yeah, squeeze a 6-star in there somewhere.
yeah, like write a review and put some stars in there. Emojis, ASCII art, we would take that too.
Sure.
And yeah,
Personally, I've given the show a collective 15 stars, so you could do your part too.
hell yeah, man. We'll keep doing what we do. Keep it locked to COG Connected for all your gaming news, reviews, previews, features, all that stuff. And we will talk to you again very, very soon. Until then, take care of yourselves, everybody, and we'll see you later.
Goodbye.
Peace.